All right, so in this video, I'm going to share with you something that's very radical because most people just don't talk about it. And in the online space, you actually hear the opposite most of the time. And this video is for the go getter who puts so much pressure on themselves to perform that it actually crumbles them. Not in the sense that they're not capable, it's because of how they're thinking about the pressure. So, if you know that you are achieving big goals in your fitness and your career, and you're on the pursuit of greatness in your life, then kudos to you for wanting to play a bigger game in your life. Now, I was inspired to actually record this. It's a bit of an impromptu video because I am currently inspired by the story of two people who I personally really look up to, and I see them as champions, and something that I'm seeing them currently walk through that I would say is an area of opportunity in how they're leading themselves in their life is I want to give you permission to suck. Yes, I want to give you permission to suck. And you're probably wondering, well, if I'm sucking, then I'm failing, then how, like, why? Why? Um, and I wrote a couple of notes right before starting this because it's really important to bring this home. And if you're putting extra pressure on yourself to perform instead of realizing that life is just a fucking game, then like you're literally taking away from what life is all about, the joy. Okay. Now, I'm not telling you don't reach for the moon. Heck yeah. Um, First thing that I want to share with you is why sucking a part of the process. Here's the thing. If you study all the great people, I study all the great people, like top athletes, stuff like that. The reason why they were so gung ho on consistent practice of the fundamentals is because they knew that they sucked. And actually, knowing that you're not the greatest and being humble, even if you are the greatest, is what makes a champion. And if you're watching this video, I know that you're a champion. Okay, so um, sucking is a part of the process because it's the only way through. You can never become great at something before you get good at something. You cannot get good at something before you suck. Think about it. If there's currently something in your life that you're like, dude, I suck at this. You're like, I suck at back squats. Guess what? You got to do more back squats to get decent at it. Eventually, you can lift up some higher numbers. You are made of the same exact thing that has made all of these world champions. And what I see that crushes so many go-getter women that have such a great potential is how they choose to look at the process. And that's the intention of this video, to offer you a perspective that number one, I want to give you permission to suck because that's just a part of the process. We're all going to suck at some point anyways. When this video is being recorded, I'm currently a dog mom, not yet a mom, and I do strive to be a parent one day. And one of the things that I hear every single parent say is before they were parents, like with their first child, they're like, we sucked. We had no idea what we were doing. And then by the time the second child came around, then they started to have confidence. Why? Because you got to suck your way up to greatness. It's just a part of the process. You got to fail up, and how you respond in those moments is what's going to determine whether or not you're actually going to be great at the thing. Because I think it's Emerson who says this, like, whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. And that's why I want to give you permission to know that it's okay, because we live in a society that rewards perfectionism, right? And punishes anything less than perfect, right? Like go back to, your days when you were like first grade. Like the kids who got A's got shouted out, they got the candy. If you were anything less than an A, no one looked at you, right? So you created this pattern in your mind that sucking is bad. When the reality is that sucking is just a part of the process. Anyone who's great at what they do had to suck their way up. I mean, I'll tell you, I suck at many things. In fact, I ask myself, yes, I know that I have a couple of gifts, but I ask myself, I'm like, what am I really, really good at? You know what I mean? Like there's always an area of opportunity. And are you paying more attention to what are you currently doing to improve yourself? Or are you paying more attention to what you're not? Because how you choose to look at it will determine how you respond. And how you respond will determine how far you'll be able to go. Okay. And one thing I know for sure, I say this a lot, is it's not about how fast you go. Rather, it's about how far are you willing to go. Because when you suck, it lengthens your runway. But guess what? When you keep on going back at it, then eventually you're going to get there. That's freaking for sure. You know what I mean? So that's point number one. Sucking is just a part of the process. Okay. What is the value of sucking? Sucking gives you an opportunity to actually get good at something. Like I said before, you got to suck at something in order to eventually be good. And then you go from good to great. There's actually a book called Good to Great. I don't remember who it's by, but like there is value to that. If you study Michael Jordan, for example, he started literally every single basketball practice with 1,000 chest presses. Why? Because he wanted to be so incredible and undeniable at the fundamentals. Because if he knew that if he were undeniable at the fundamentals, then guess what? Eventually he will become undeniable at the sexier, the more complex things. And I mean, one thing, even if you're not a basketball person, right? One thing that Michael Jordan is known for is like his slam dunks, right? That is so much more complex, takes so much more energy and effort than, freaking chest pass, right? So remember that there is a value to sucking. And I believe that being willing to suck actually gives you a great advantage. It gives you a skill that cannot be bought anywhere. And that is the skill of perseverance. Because most people actually stop. Actually, there is a stat. 90% of people don't actually get started with their like health goals or whatever they say they want to accomplish because they're scared of failure. So if you just get started, you are already like buying yourself into the top 10% of the world. Like, think about it. Mind blowing. Now, most people who do get started end up failing, not because they're failures. Failure is guaranteed when we choose to quit. Most people never get beyond the suck because they're not willing to get up and continue to suck when they do suck at first. At first, you're going to suck. You got to crawl before you walk. You got to walk before you run. No baby just, got up from their knees and started running. Like, you don't see that. So what makes you think that, when you're new to something or you haven't yet built consistency, maybe you're actually really great at certain things, but you just haven't been consistent at it. So you suck. That doesn't make you incapable. So most people let one event determine their destiny. Don't be that person, because the value of sucking is that it gives you a favorable advantage. What is that advantage? Getting ahead, separating yourself from the pack. You want to go from 1%, from 10% to 1%, be willing to suck. You want to be real great, be willing to suck for a longer time period until you go from sucking to good, and then from good to great. You know what I mean? So know that there is a value to that, even though based on how we've been trained by, the school system and in society, we think that, sucking is bad. And that's why most people don't even start, which is wild. So remember that. Okay. Next thing, I want to give you a positive reframe for these moments when you feel like you suck. I'll be lying if I said that yesterday I didn't have a day where I was kind of like in my emotions. Like, studies show that 30% of the time in our life, we're going to go through days like that. We're feeling lower, and depending on the season and the time of year where you're watching this, like in the darker, winter, colder out like days, that might happen to you more often. It doesn't make you bad or wrong. It just is. Life just is. So when you feel like you're sucking, know these few things. Number one is failure is guaranteed if you quit. So yes, you could be quote unquote struggling, but that is not final unless you choose for it to be so. That's thing number one. Thing number two is struggle is a choice. You may or may not have read Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning. Viktor Frankl was in a concentration camp in the Holocaust. He was psychiatric, and he was hired by the Nazi regime to basically do psychiatric studies. So he studied his own people. He was Jewish amongst, like his peers, with regards to the effects of, the hardship that they faced. And really, the premises of this book is that you can go through extremely hard and painful things, and suffering is still a choice. So I share this with you because when you're walking through a point when you suck, dude, it kills the ego, of course. No one likes to suck. That's why most people don't even get started, right? So remember this. Suffering while you suck, that's a choice. So you can choose to suck your way to greatness with a happy attitude, or you can choose to just say, oh my gosh, this is so hard. And you can wallow in your emotions. And when you do, then don't know. But if you knew that you had a choice, would you rather choose what's going to help you to actually get to where you want to go? Or would you rather choose what's going to currently protect your ego and is going to not get you to where you want to go? Okay. So remember this, suffering is a choice. Okay. And if you do not quit, eventually you'll go from sucking to good and then from good to great. Okay. Have greatness on the side, but be where your feet are. Okay. So that's another reframe. When you look at the entire mountain, it's going to be extremely overwhelming because you're going to be like, dude, like, how? But when you focus on where your feet are, you go from 0 feet to 1,000 feet elevation. Before you know it, 10,000 foot elevation. Before you know it, you've climbed the entire mountain. You know what I mean? So just to remember that sucking is a part of the process. Suffering while you suck, that's a choice. And the other thing I want to share with you is when you go through these moments when you suck, you can choose to do one of two things. You can choose to think about how much you suck, which is going to validate your ego and create more of the same feeling that's keeping you stuck. Or you can just choose to take action in this moment and get ahead. Action is going to be the solution that is going to take you from where you currently are to whatever the next step is. Don't look at the entire mountain, just look at the next step. So the sooner you take action, the sooner you get yourself from where you currently are, which is obviously not favorable to where it is that you want to go. Okay. So just a couple of reframes. Also, when it comes to sucking, the reason why I want to give you a golden nugget to keep in your back pocket. What's on the other side of you choosing to take action when you feel like you're sucking, you're stuck, you're failing is confidence. Because confidence is not something you can buy at the store. It is not something that you can pay $10, $1,000, or even $1,000,000 for. Confidence is something that you earn. And the only way you earn confidence is by overcoming really hard things. Overcoming hard things. And I have found through my own human journey that the moments where I feel the most amount of humiliation and struggle, by overcoming the suck, that's what gives me the most amount of confidence. For example, English is a second language for me. You know, I didn't know how to speak English. And during in third grade, like when we would learn the word time, I pronounced it Tim. You know what I mean? Like I was that like dumb at English. And it was a dream of mine that one day I'll be able to be fluent. And look, I mean, you know what I mean? I overcame the suck despite how much I was humiliated. And I was like, trying to read words in class and just like sounding dumb. You know what I mean? Like no one likes that feeling. But I was like, I'm not going to let that stop me, you know? So moments that really defeat your ego, by taking action in those moments and just ignoring it. Like, yes, feel your feelings. Don't feel them for too long where now you're putting your identity on it instead of putting an identity on it. Choose to take action, and then you're going to learn one word and another word, one thing and another thing. And before you know it, like, wow, like you can now start putting sentences together, kind of talking, and lo and behold, you're fluent, right? So I'm sharing with you these stories because if I can, so can you. You know what I mean? Like I'm so imperfect. Like I have so much to work on. And that's why I choose to take action each and every single day, even on those hard days. Okay. So, um, which leads me to the next point. When you feel like you're sucking, you need this one thing. What you need the most is it's a C word. It's called consistency. You got to be consistent because consistency is what's going to allow you to overcome. For example, just because I gave you the learning English analogy, I If I did not practice speaking English with people, reading English, talking in English, there's no way I'll be able to speak with you today. You know what I mean? And share with you this story. So repetition, that's how the mind learns, for better and for worse. By the way, this is why the hardest things, the hardest thing when it comes to becoming great at anything, um, you know, having a certain body fat composition, like looking a certain way, performing a certain way, letting go of a bad habit is actually harder than starting to implement a new habit. Like I've seen it through and through with, like the people that we coach. And most of the habits are mental habits. They're not actually physical habits. You know what I mean? I'm going to do another video on what are the physical habits that have gotten me to um, maintain a six pack for over 10 years. But what are the mental habits that I had to let go of and actively work on and incorporate in order to have that level of consistency? Consistency is the name of the game, for better or for worse. The longer you do something, the more difficult it is going to be to let go of it, right? Because we're creatures of habit, for better or for worse. This is why, for some people, as they get older, it does sometimes become too late. It does. Because a person might not want to change. But obviously, if you're watching this, I know like you're in the pursuit of your greatness, like you're actively working on becoming the best version of yourself. So you're growth minded, you're open minded. But I'm telling you this because what you gotta focus on is not your failures. It's not those moments when you suck. What you gotta focus on is your consistency. Okay, like we have our, uh, like our program in the 6 week peak physique. It's like every single day, what do? We track consistency. That's the one thing that you have 100% control over. And like I tell our people all the time, I'm like, it is like having a day where you missed consistency, right? Like we mark it with a 0, doesn't make you a bad person, doesn't make you a failure. It's just feedback. And how you respond to the feedback is what's going to happen on the other side. Because you see, most people, like humans, have the attention span of 2 seconds or less. As of right now, humans have an attention span that's lesser than that of a goldfish. So imagine doing something for 183 days in a row. It's an undeniable rare skill. And just like any skill, it's something that you got to practice. So consistency is something that you practice. You can't just go to the store and buy it. You know what I mean? Like you can't use AI and become consistent. You can't technology your way to consistency. There's some things that are just in alignment with nature laws, and you got to put in the work. And that's the pursuit of greatness. You can't AI your pursuit of greatness. You know what I mean? Like you got to go through the trenches. Hate to break it to you if you thought otherwise, but I don't think you did. So I'm looking at my notes here. If you were to always be great at what you do. Oh, I want to give you another reframe with regards to sucking and why sucking is just a part of your pursuit of greatness. Most people never suck because most people are not growth minded. Growth requires learning. Learning requires adapting to new stimulus. We live in a world where now more than ever, like the world is changing really fast. I mean, like what we can now do in a day, like 100 years ago, people couldn't do in a year. You know what I mean? So just remember that if you are sucking right now, it's actually feedback that you are moving in the right direction to your greatness. Because if you were never to suck at anything and you were always great, you're actually not evolving. You're not growing. You're not playing a game that's big enough. You know what I mean? One of the reasons why I train the way that I do in so many modalities and why I do what I do is it's because it keeps me on my toes. You know what I mean? It's like, yes, you can be the best in the world at back squats, but if you can't run, then okay, your endurance is going to suck, right? And you can be really good at doing bench press, but if you don't have a pull up, then your posture is going to suck. You know what I mean? Everything affects everything. So the fact that you're sucking is feedback that you're moving towards growth, which is great. And that's why it's really important for you to look at it in a certain way, in a way that's going to serve you versus going to hurt you. Because your response will determine your trajectory and also your destination. Okay. Um, and before we wrap this up, I just if you're like, dude, like this video totally spoke to me because I feel like I'm currently sucking at ABC, XYZ. I just want to give you some words of wisdom with regards to how to make sucking a little bit less painful because it does hurt. Most of the time, it hurts the ego. Depending on what skill you're currently learning, it can, physically hurt as well, right? Like training hurts a lot. You want to be a faster runner, you got to hurt. You want to be, stronger, your muscles are going to hurt. Um, so here are a couple of things to make it less painful. Number one, you got to have the attitude that's going to serve you, not the attitude that's going to hurt you. That's everything that I shared in the video up until now. Basically, was all just, like tips to help you adjust your attitude in a way that's going to help you. Now, other than that, it is really important when you're going through hard things to not go through it alone, because left to our own devices, like where the only perspective we have is the perspective between our ears, which oftentimes is not necessarily the perspective that's going to inspire you, make you feel excited, and make you feel embraced even through tough times. Okay, so it's really important that you have accountability and you have support, not just from people who are like in your close space. You know what I mean? Like most people who are in our close spaces, they might not necessarily want the same things as you do. And depending on the type of support system that you currently have, the people who are closest to you might actually be the people who are hurting you the most and are holding you back the most. So you need to have the right support system and accountability. And what would I consider supportive and highly accountable? I consider it being the type of people who can embrace you during tough times and can also give you the tough love that you deserve during those tough moments when you're having human moments. So, like cheerleaders when you need it, and like tough teammate supporters when you don't feel like it. From an accountability standpoint, people who are moving in the same direction towards the same goal as you, or ideally are even further in the road than you. I hear, women tell me all the time, "Oh, my my spouse is going to hold me accountable to XYZ goal." And then I ask them, "Well, do you mind if I ask, like, where's your partner in relation to what you want to achieve?" "Oh, like he kind of like, sort of pursues it." Terrible accountability. To the degree that a person can hold themselves accountable, they will also be able to hold other people accountable. Like, I'll tell you, I'm like gung ho, consistent AF when it comes to accountability. Why? because you bet your ass that I'm highly accountable with regards to myself. I can't just get away with shit. If I'm being inconsistent, I'm not just gonna like not confront it. You know what I mean? And that's why I feel so confident doing the same with other people. Because by the end of the day, to the degree that we're able to lead ourselves, we're able to lead others as well. Okay. So uh, remember that if you're walking through something and you feel like you're sucking, just know that it's a part of the process. And I would encourage you, if you're also playing some kind of mind trick with yourself, where you're noticing yourself looking to the right, looking to your left, and trying to validate how defeated you should feel because others might be much better than you, stop it. Stop it. Take action, focus on what's within your control, be willing to suck in order to eventually be good. Focus on your consistency. It's the one thing you got. Surround yourself with like minded people who are moving towards the same thing that you want in the same direction and are hopefully playing a bigger game than you. And by the way, if you know that you want to be a part of like a community like that, then check out the link in the description too, because what we have going on and what we created with our community, it's next level. We're really like, I'm so grateful that we're all moving in the same direction and really embracing a culture of excellence. You know, the good, the bad, the ugly, the dirty, we're walking through it together. We're not letting one another down, and we're not going to let you down either. Okay. And remember, you have what it takes because you're made of the same thing that creates consciousness. And we're all in this together. And by the way, when it sucks, it's better for it to not suck when you walk through it alone. All right. If you could drop in the comments, I'd love to know, like, what is one golden nugget that you're going to put in your back pocket and apply today? Because that's why I recorded this video, to give you a reminder so that you can take action, because that's where your transformation happens, through action. All right. So with that being said, I look forward to seeing what you got, and here's to you continuing to pursue your greatness. Much love.